And I would start by saying that the human mind fascinates me. Oh, it has not always been the case. It was not always been like that. I would even say 30 years ago, it was the opposite. I thought the human mind was annoying, bothering, recalcitrant. I was more appealed by the beauty of mathematics, logic. You know, during my studies, we even managed to have a course in which they were teaching us an equation to explain love. Isn't that fantastic? Today, Valentine's Day. Well, practice was something else, but at least in theory it was nice. Now, I would say a few years later, of course, a bit changed my mind, and I think I got a kind of epiphany, I would say 10 years ago, when I was following my first NLP course. For those who know, in the world of NLP, you have a kind of representation of model of communication, and the model of communication is what? Well, basically, our human mind perceives the environment through our 5 senses, and then the human mind does 3 things. It deletes, distorts, and generalizes. Please believe me so far, and I won't go into the explanation now, I'll keep that for a later speech, but that is what our human mind does. And in fact, it is fantastic, because thanks to that, when we have a danger in front of us, we are not focusing on all the small details which are there. So every little stone, every wall, every fall in the curtains, for instance. No, we're focusing, oh, is there a big danger? I should run. Okay? So that is a fantastic property of our human mind. But however, together with that comes also, well, some dependencies or some problems. And we call them biases. From literature I learned there are more or less between 30 and 40 common biases. And the one on which I would like to focus this evening is the survivorship bias. And I was in fact intrigued by this picture, which I saw in one of the presentations I received recently. Now, the story goes as follows. Second World War, around the end of the Second World War, as you know, there were planes leaving every evening from the UK to go in to bomb the industrial cities in Germany. And the UK government had appointed a group of specialists and asked them, okay guys, you're going to watch all the planes coming back and you're going to see where the impacts are. And so what you see on this image are in fact the impacts on the planes, the impacts from the German Luftwaffe, and so the Air Force when they're trying to shoot the bombers, or the impact from the anti-aircraft artillery coming from the ground. And so basically, very religiously, they were checking each plane coming back, saying, see, these are the locations where they hit the most. Conclusion, let's reinforce those locations, because, hey guys, this will help us, we will keep more planes. Luckily, in the group was a kind of statistician who said, oh, whoa, 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 wait a bit, not so far, what are we doing here? We are basing conclusions, or making conclusions, yeah, on what we see, but guys, what happens with all the planes who don't come back? Where have those been hit? Ever thought about that? And then also at that time they also had a kind of epiphany, and so basically the story goes that in the end, the decision was made to reinforce the planes not where you saw the hits, but on the contrary to reinforce the plane where they didn't see the hits, because these hits were most likely to down the plane. I don't know the figures, but from the story it goes that the survival rate increased. Now you're going to say, nice, World War II, but there are many examples of those things. An example with marketing. You are the head of a company and you say, okay, I have my small customer base, I want to expand my customer base. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send an email to all my customers and I'm going to ask them which new service I would like to have, so to make sure to expand my customer base. But what do you think happens? Well, first of all, your most loyal customers are going to respond. But they are already used to your services. So do you think that you're really going to draw correct conclusions based on the feedback of all those customers which you already have, whereas your aim is to have new customers? Okay, so basically you're only basing your conclusion on a small sample. Other example, buildings. Imagine yourself, you're in New York, walking past Central Station, then you think, Jesus. At that time at least, they were able to build fantastic buildings, able to withstand time, isn't it? Of course, you're basing your conclusion on that one building. But don't you think that all the surroundings were also built at that time? What has happened with all those buildings? Well, they didn't withstand time. Okay? So, basically, survivorship bias, what is it? It is just drawing conclusion on a sample which is absolutely not representative of the data of the population you really want to draw conclusions on. That is the survivorship bias. And as I already mentioned, it is one of the many biases, but it's the one I wanted to talk to you today. And so basically, as I started, human minds fascinates me nowadays. It fascinates me because we have this ability to think quickly, to react quickly, to focus on what is important. However, by doing that, we sometimes forget other things. And so, my call of action for you today is to say, next time you have to make a decision, next time you're facing a problem, don't be St. Thomas. Don't always focus on, don't only focus on what you see, but think about what you don't see, because that might save your life. Dear Toastmasters, thank you very much and good evening.